Hey there, and welcome to Undoing We, Divorce and Life Conversations on WGSN-DB Going Solo Network, radio, podcast, and TV. I'm your host, Mardi Winder-Adams. I'm a divorce coach, a mediator, and someone who's been through exactly what you're going through. This show is all about helping you get through the tough stuff, the overwhelm of divorce, the what now moments, and the messiness of trying to rebuild your life. We're going to talk about real life challenges, share expert advice, and give you practical tools you can use to move forward with your life. Are you ready to start shifting from we to me? Grab a coffee, sit back, and let's get started. Hello, and I am so excited to have you here today on this episode of Undoing We. I'm going to talk to an amazing person who is not just a phenomenal professional, but she's also a personal friend and somebody who I really admire for the breadth and depth of the services she offers her clients. So I want to give you a brief introduction. Melissa Deely is an integrative mind-body health practitioner, trainer of NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming. She is also an expert in different modalities of healing, including timeline therapy, hypnotherapy, and magnified healing, which is dedicated to helping clients detox and heal their physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual bodies. With a fully virtual practice, Melissa serves clients all around the world. She's also the founder of the Amplify Impact Academy, where she trains others in mind-body healing modalities and works to help expand the reach of her services. Melissa is a best-selling author, and she hosts the award-winning podcast, Don't Wait for Your Wake-Up Call, which is actually ranked as a global top 2% podcast. It is a phenomenal listen. I'm a regular subscriber to the podcast, and Melissa brings a wealth of different information all about health, healing, mind, body, spirit, and emotional connectivity. And she really embodies this work. I've got to tell you, Melissa is like this. She practices it. She uses it. And she is just a wonderful ambassador for all of the services she offers people. Melissa was also recognized as a 2024 Women in Podcasting recipient, which was amazing for her to actually get this award, because podcasters from all over the world were competing. So I think that's quite a recognition. Melissa is a very outdoorsy person. She enjoys hiking and skiing and just being outside. But also, I should say, Melissa is one of the founders of the nonprofit Girls Matter, which is a program and a platform that's dedicated to helping girls stay in school in Uganda and Kenya, and by breaking the cycle of poverty so that families can afford to send their girls to school. So with all of that being said, today, Melissa and I have a conversation about the whole role of the subconscious mind and tapping into tools that we all have to help deal with times of stress, overwhelm, anxiety, and even fear, which certainly comes into play for most of us at some point in time in the divorce process. So let's listen in to the conversation I had with Melissa, and then I'm going to touch base with you after our conversation is over. You have kind of made a shift in your business. Tell us a little bit about what you do and why you are so passionate about this.
Well, thank you. And yes, I have. I came into this work as an integrative health practitioner, working with clients, focusing on the physical body and the ailments, the symptoms, getting to root cause, and using functional medicine lab testing and writing wellness protocols for people and helping them regain their health. And I was at a place where I had some clients having great success with following wellness protocols, and other clients had the best of intentions and yet couldn't follow the protocol. And I was just wondering why. I was using the same tools and techniques with people, and some people could do it and some people couldn't. And as is always the case, when the student is ready, the teacher will show up, right? I had a naturopathic doctor reach out to me on LinkedIn and just start, talking to me about the powerful mind body tools that she worked with. And so that intrigued me, and I hopped on a coffee chat with her on Zoom, and she started talking about the unconscious mind. And we started talking about the programming that happens in our younger years of childhood. And that's when I realized, oh my goodness, that's the missing link as to why some people were falling off and unable to follow their wellness protocols. It's because of that childhood programming that they're still running in adulthood. And so I realized, okay, I want to learn more about this, because if I can help people reprogram that programming so that it can serve them as an adult, then now I can help everybody follow through on their wellness protocols and regain their health, which is the ultimate goal here, right?
Right.
And so I jumped in, and what I next learned was that we actually have 4 bodies: a spiritual body, a mental body, an emotional body, and a physical body. And that by the time the symptoms show up in the physical body, they've already moved through the other 3 bodies. And so on any healing journey, we have to take it beyond just the physical body, and we have to address the stuffed down emotions that, again, society has programmed us to stuff with, boys don't cry and big girls don't cry and put your big girl panties on and all of those things that we've heard growing up, right?
Right.
The mental toxicity, we have 70,000 conversations with ourselves every single day. Are we speaking to ourselves as someone we love or not? And in most cases, we're not. We're having conversations inside our head of, I can't do that, I'm not good enough, not smart enough, not pretty enough, whatever it is, cancel to all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And let's release all of that and start speaking to ourselves as our own best cheerleader. And then the spiritual alignment, the spiritual health. Are we actually living our mission? Are we waking up every day excited to go and do our job? Or are we in a job because it pays the bills and we really hate it and we feel stuck and we don't see a way out? And so we have to look at all of this, because when there's imbalance in any of those areas, it will cause dis-ease of the body. And if we only address the physical body in the healing process, guess what happens?
Yeah.
A year or 2 later, there's more symptoms, because the emotional body or the mental body or the spiritual body are going, hello, we're trying to talk to you in there. You didn't pay attention to me. You need to pay attention to me, so I'm giving you more symptoms. And then alongside that, we have 3 minds. We have our conscious mind that everybody knows about. We go to school and they teach us about our conscious mind, and we think that's the most powerful part. However, we also have an unconscious mind, which is the other 90%. And we aren't taught the tools of the unconscious mind at school. That's what I now teach at Amplify Impact Academy with my business partner. And we absolutely love training people in these tools, because we see the transformation they go through right before our eyes when they learn the tools to tap into the other 90%. I mean, It's kind of obvious, right? Do you want to work with the 10%, or do you want to have access to the other 90%, which means 100%?
Yeah.
And that allows you to do life the easy way. If you're out there feeling like life is hard right now, it simply means you're using the wrong tool for the job. And it's not your fault. You just haven't been given access to the tools in the other 90%, because that is not taught in the school system.
Right. And I was going to say, this is so true, because I'm thinking of how many, even if you look at studies, like if you have depression, you are prone to all these medical issues. Like it's pretty easy to track that, right? I mean, it's there, it's in the statistics. But yet, if you deal with the emotional weight that you're carrying and that spiritual weight that you're carrying, all of a sudden people start healing. And so this isn't so abstract. This is very concrete if you look at the numbers, right?
Absolutely. And again, there's so much programming, right? Yeah. In those younger years, if you're not well, you go to the doctor, they fix you, which is putting way too much responsibility on another human being. And it's taking away any learning that we could possibly have around the body's innate and incredible power to heal itself when we create the environment for it to do so. And that's the key part, is we have to create that environment. And when we understand that we actually have 4 bodies. I never knew that before I got into this line of work, right? I just thought about my physical body and that was it, and never connected that there was so much more. And yet I did also know that stuffed down emotions do cause dis-ease. I just didn't know what I could do about that because I didn't have those tools.
Right. Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's the same, with trauma. Trauma is stuffed down emotions, stuffed down mental toxicity because, something awful happened. And why would we want to go back to that? And yet when we go to therapy, they want you to talk about it. And talking about it initially is really good for awareness. What I've now learned with all the tools that I have is talking about it over and over and over again actually deepens the neurology of it.
Sure.
And no wonder people feel like they've been hit by a Mack truck every time they leave therapy, because they're reliving it and it's deepening the neurology.
Right. It's just creating those stories. It's reinforcing those stories over and over. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, what if we had a tool to work with the unconscious mind, which, by the way, it stores memories of every single event that's ever happened in your life without judgment for you to access as needed. And it will repress memories of unresolved negative emotion to help you get through the trauma in the moment, right? Think of first responders having to run towards a horrific fire or car accident, or people in the military zone running into danger. In that moment, the unconscious mind has to suppress all of the emotions that they have around that, because they can't afford to get into the, oh my God, this is so horrific, and into the tears and into the sadness and all of it, or the anger of why they even have to do this or why it happened, etc., etc. They have to just do their job and follow their training.
Right.
And then later, when the unconscious mind deems that it's safe to bring up those memories for the conscious mind to resolve, so that the emotion can be released from the body, it will send some kind of a trigger, a memory, a flashback. And so often we go, no, talk to the hand. I don't want to deal with it. Push it back down. Right. However, the best thing that we can do is actually release it. And again, using tools of the unconscious mind, we can do that without having to talk about it. Because guess what? The unconscious mind already knows what happened.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And so we can go back to the root cause of the anger or the sadness or the fear or the hurt, the guilt, the rage, the shame. And when we pull it at the root, it releases all of that stuffed down emotion, because it's literally held in a gestalt, kind of like a line where all of the anger is connected. And then in another line, all of the fear is connected. In another line, all of the joy is connected. In another line, all of the happiness is connected. And you pull the root and it just releases that entire line of that emotion from your body, from being down, so that people feel so much lighter when they finish a session. And we're not turning people into zombies such that you never feel the emotion again. Where we want you to feel the emotions in the present and be able to release them in a healthful way and not stuff them down.
Right. Yeah.
Emotions are important, and we want them to be both warranted and appropriate, as opposed to we have so much anger stuffed down that when it comes up, it's completely inappropriate and unwarranted. Someone honks at you in the car and you fly into road rage. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
That's a lot of suppressed anger that we want to release in a healthy way using tools like timeline therapy, where we can have them release it without having to relive it, without having to talk about it.
Right.
All we need is the learnings, because ultimately everything is happening for us to learn something. So when we get the learnings, the unconscious mind goes, great, got the learnings. Now I can release the stuffed down emotion that was related to that.
Yeah. And I think this is such a positive message, because I think, so many people have experienced trauma, and I just want to stress too that when we think of trauma, a lot of times we do think, like Melissa said, something crisis, life-threatening, but trauma can be like chronic stuff. If you're bullied on an ongoing
Yes.
basis, if you live in a toxic community or a toxic workplace, it can be that chronic sense of trauma as well. It doesn't have to be something horrific. And what's trauma for me may not be trauma for you. I have a friend who was in a horrific car accident, almost lost their life, really never had trauma around that. One of my other friends witnessed the accident, was not in it, just witnessed it, and suffered a whole bunch of trauma because of witnessing the accident. And it doesn't really make sense, because you would think, okay, if the person in the accident didn't have any problems, why should a witness? But it's the way, again, I'm guessing maybe it has something to do with other things that person had seen in their life or experienced.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Exactly. And so that's where we pull the root, that it's so powerful and so quick. We don't go back and talk about every single time you were angry one by one, or every time you were sad, or every time you were fearful. We pull it at the root, and it releases it all the way forward until the present.
Yeah.
And it's such a beautiful tool to use with people, because the number of times that people go through their first timeline therapy session, which ultimately between the intake and the session is no more than 4 hours, and they go, oh my goodness, I have peace up here. It's quiet up here.
Yeah.
And they are not running the story, as you talked about earlier, over and over and over again in the background, outside their awareness. However, it's still there, negatively impacting how they're able to live their life.
Right. And I think this is fantastic, because for people going through divorce, and I'm just going to bring it right now, for where this audience, where our listeners probably are, if you're going through a divorce, if you've been through past breakups, all of that stuff, if you haven't dealt with it, is there. And I think that's why people become so emotional over something so simple in the divorce. And even after you back off and go, why was I arguing over the coffee maker when I could go buy another one at Walmart or Target or, wherever? It's because of that past association that you're not even aware of, and you didn't deal with it. And it's now coming to the surface, right, Melissa?
That's absolutely what it is. And so it's that programming, right?
Yeah.
From whatever it was last time around. And then now there's a trigger. And as a result of the trigger, you just automatically go one way, right? That in that place of a trigger, we don't have discernment to go, oh, this doesn't make sense. I could just go buy the coffee maker. That doesn't come until after we calm down, right? In our work, we really like triggers, because we look for the trigger that sends you off the handle, right? And we say, okay, let's have you do something else instead. How would you like to behave instead? Right? So instead of losing your shit, how would you like to behave instead? Now we can rewire the neurology, because that trigger is going to happen.
Sure.
And let's have a different behavior as a result.
Yeah.
And that's the power of this work, that we can literally rewire the neurology to create different behaviors.
Yeah.
And, we train people to become coaches in this work, whether it's other coaches, whether it's practitioners, whether it's therapists, as well as do this for self. Because when you learn these skills, they are life skills. Swimming is a life skill. You don't need it every day, however, it can save your life. That's literally what these skills are. When you have the skills and the tools of the unconscious mind, and you can implement them in your life, you can navigate through the bumps that we all experience as we go through life with much more ease and grace. And that allows us to be a better parent, a better partner, a better leader, etc., etc.
And I was going to say, what a powerful tool as a parent to be able to share with your children. Can you imagine if children are aware of how to access this and how to deal with these things? They're going to be so healthy that they're not even going to have to worry about this when they get to adults, because they're going to have a core body healing system already integrated into who they are.
Exactly. We would love to see this get into, kindergartens, and imagine how much easier it would be for the kindergarten teacher if all the kids in the class knew how to manage their state,
Yeah.
When we teach that, it's super fun because the unconscious mind is the home of imagination. Guess what? We are tapping into imagination, and our kindergartners are already doing that, and they
Yeah.
love that. So
Yeah.
it's a game to them.
Yeah.
Oh, you're not feeling great right now. Well, let's go out and throw that crappy mood out into the sun, and let's bring in your superhero and wrap yourself in that superhero until you are feeling the way you want to feel right now in this moment. That's literally what it is, to
Yeah.
change your state.
Yeah.
Every kindergartner could do that, right?
They
And then
do. Yeah. Yeah.
the teacher can say, you know what? Why don't you just go do a sun strategy here right now, right? Change your state and come back into the classroom. So much easier for them, and the kids love it. And as you say, when we can teach them the skills at such a young age, they don't have all the issues as they grow older because they haven't stuffed down all their emotions. They've dealt with them.
Yeah.
They don't have the limiting decisions because they have awareness to recognize that, no, I'm better than that. Why am I talking to myself that way?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And the other piece that's so wonderful is, speaking of the mind, are we running the horror show or are we running the love story of our lives? Right?
Right.
And that's all dictated by our filters. And all humans have the same categories of filters, which are our values and beliefs, our decision making, our memories, our language, the way we move through time, matter, space, and energy, our meta programs, the basis of our personality, etc. Right? And then as we go through life and have all of our experiences, all of those experiences fill up our filters. So our filters are as different to the next person's filters as our fingerprints are. So we can both have the same identical experience. And based on our filters, how we process what's happening at that experience, based on our filters, we're spitting out the love story or the horror show.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
So if we're going through life seeing it as a horror show, we can shift those filters in order to have you be able to go through life seeing it as a love story.
Yeah.
And again, when we teach this to kindergartners, guess what? They can choose to go through life seeing it as the love story. And if something happens and they see it as a horror show, because, life happens,
Right.
they also know how to bring it back to the love story really quickly.
Right.
And this is an interesting way to talk about the fact that we're literally all creating our own reality every single day.
As you can see, Melissa and I had one of those wide-ranging conversations that starts at one point and ends up just kind of expanding out as the conversation evolved. And I think there was a few really interesting takeaway points there. And that is that we do have intuitive tools, and we do have practices that if we can access them, if we can open up the pathway between our subconscious or unconscious and our conscious mind, we can tap into those. And I think the statistic that Melissa gave at the beginning of our interview was about 90% of what we do in the world is done in our subconscious mind level. So let's really tap into that wisdom. And we also talked about something that I think is very real for most people in the world today, is that not dealing with trauma is sometimes what creates all kinds of symptoms for us, whether it's difficulty sleeping or addiction issues or overwhelm and stress and anxiety. And learning how to deal with trauma through timeline therapy, through hypnotherapy, through reflective work, through meditation and mindfulness, through therapy, if that is the route that you choose, can all be really effective ways at removing the impact of trauma from our lives and being able to move forward without dealing with all of the associated symptoms in our mental, physical, spiritual, and emotional bodies. And that I really like that idea that we're not just this one physical body, that there are these other areas of our being that need to be addressed if we are going to truly come through difficult challenges like divorce or the loss of a loved one, loss of a job, moving to a new location, a health scare or a health issue. All of these things can truly create trauma. And learning how to deal with this most effectively is one of the best gifts we can give to ourselves. Thanks for sharing your time with me on Undoing We. If this episode resonated with you, be sure to share it with a friend and don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one. If you're looking for some more support, be sure to grab my guide, 5 Strategies for Better Communication During Divorce and Other Life Transitions. The link is going to be in the show notes. And remember, no matter what you do today, do something special for yourself because